Hello, I'm Andrew Klavan, and I'm here in Hollywood. And I have a serious face today. And when I have a serious face, it's very serious because I'm in Hollywood. Usually I say funny things with a funny face and then we all laugh, but today I'm serious. And that means you have to take me seriously. Sometimes I may even have emotions, and then it's very serious because my emotions aren't ordinary emotions, they're Hollywood emotions. And Hollywood emotions make me an expert on things. When I have Hollywood emotions, I become an expert on healthcare and gun control and anything else I want to talk about with my emotions. And you have to take me seriously because I'm in Hollywood and I have a serious face and emotions. Now, some of you may say, wait, why do we have to take you seriously just because you have a serious face and emotions? Shouldn't we calm down and get past our emotions so we can think clearly and make good decisions? But I say no. And when I say no, it's not an ordinary no. It's a no from Hollywood, so it's important. I say if you care, now is the time to make decisions while you're emotional. Because if you calm down, then you might think and gather facts. And if you think and gather facts, you might stop taking me seriously. And you have to take me seriously because I'm in Hollywood and I have a serious face. There are others among you who probably say, well, we have a Constitution and we should probably follow the law set down in our Constitution. But is the Constitution from Hollywood? Does the Constitution have a serious Hollywood face with emotions? How can we show we care if we're always obeying the Constitution instead of thinking about my emotions here in Hollywood? So today, no matter what happens, remember three things. I have a serious face, I have emotions, and I'm in Hollywood. So what I say is important, even though it's complete crap. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show. See, I can be Jimmy Kimmel. he's getting 10 million bucks for that, for doing that. It's the mailbag day. That's more importantly, it is the mailbag day. You know, and here's what we're going to talk about: guns. You know, I've been putting it off when this terrible thing happened in Vegas to begin with. I said I didn't want to politicize it. I wanted to find out what the police are doing. Yesterday, I talked about what the left was doing. And today, they want to talk about guns. Let's talk about guns. I'm going to read you one of the best pieces that was written. I think the best piece that was written yesterday about this. But before we talk about that, well, I mentioned the mailbag, and we have tickety-boo news. But first, we have to talk about Blue Apron. Because Blue Apron are the people that I go to when I want to get a really restaurant-level meal that is cooked at home. Now, I could pretend that I cook it at home, but what I do is I sit and drink a glass of wine and watch my wife cook it at home. But it's not hard because what they do, first of all, this is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the country. So you know they know what they're doing, and what they do is they deliver the ingredients to you, all measured out, so you have exactly what you need. They give you this big card, which has very bright, clear to read, easy to read directions. And the stuff they're sending you, it's just not the kind of thing you're normally going to cook. Upcoming meals include cheesy chicken and black bean enchiladas with salsa verde. Now, you know, you guys make this at your home every day, but we don't. I mean, this is a little fancy for us. Shrimp marinara with spaghetti, spinach, and parsley. Maple gravy smothered pork chops. Ooh, that one sounds good. Maple gravy smothered pork chops with stewed collard greens and sweet potatoes. Love collard greens. Spiced cauliflower and pepper with jasmine rice and cilantro yogurt sauce. These things cost, I know that sounds like in a restaurant, that's the kind of meal that would cost you like $30, but this is $10 per person per meal, and they deliver them right to your house. You get to choose a variety of recipes, and they're always putting up new recipes every day, and you can customize your recipes each week based on your preferences. Take about 40 minutes or less to make each meal, and check out this week's menu and you get $30 off your first meal with free shipping. $30 off your first meal with free shipping. How do you do it? You go to blueapron.com/Andrew. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/Andrew. Andrew for $30 off your first meal with free shipping. BlueApron.com/Andrew is a better way to cook. And, I joke about the fact that my wife won't let me cook because I'd only hurt myself. I mean, it really is true. It really is true. The times I've tried to cook, I wound up with my hands entirely in bandages, like the Invisible Man or something like that. But it's nice to be together. It's nice to sit around and cook and chat and all that stuff. So, all right, I want to read you what I just thought was the best piece, the best response to all this stuff. I'll give you the latest on the shooting. The killer, Stephen Paddock's girlfriend, Marilu Danley, arrived here in L.A. last night. She was in the Philippines. The police say she's a person of interest. They're interviewing her as we speak, trying to find out the motive for this guy. They cannot find out the motive for this guy. But she went to the Philippines. Before she went to the Philippines, he wired $100,000 to the Philippines. So we don't know what that's about. I mean, it's funny. I turned on the TV to see what the updates were. It's just people speculating. Really, it's kind of awful. I guess they have to fill the airtime, but we just don't know. We don't know. The sheriff, somebody made some remark about maybe he was radicalized, and on InfoWars or something, they're playing that out to say he was killing conservatives. But there's also a story that he was planning attacks on other not just country music concerts, but other kinds of concerts. Multiple witnesses do say he was unkind to his girlfriend, that he treated her brusquely and badly, and people witnessed this. His brother, Eric Paddock, who's I shouldn't laugh, but he's just slowly falling apart. He keeps giving these interviews, and each interview gets more and more emotional. They've got a third brother who apparently, like their father, was also had a criminal history. So maybe Eric Paddock is like the one guy, maybe he's the white sheep of the family or something, and he's just trying to deal with this. Here's a cut of him talking. Cut number 6 of him talking about the fact that this guy was a gambler, but he was a successful gambler. And the records show he was paid up at these casinos. He was not in debt, as an earlier report said.
Steve was a highly intelligent, highly successful person. He could have done anything he wanted to do. And he did. He made himself wealthy. He made us wealthy. He was a very successful person. He gambled for 20 plus years successfully. It's like a job to him. He did it mathematically. He did it because it was a way to have a fun life and he didn't go poor doing it.
So he goes on and talks about his terrible feelings that maybe he could have done something differently. Maybe if the guy had called him, he could have talked him out of it. But all that is just, the emotional side of this. And there's been a lot of emotions. Jimmy Kimmel, I don't want to constantly talk about Jimmy Kimmel, but he really has become, CNN said, how did Jimmy Kimmel become our conscience? It's like CNN, Jimmy Kimmel is your conscience, I mean, if your conscience is Jimmy Kimmel, like mine's Jerry Lewis, okay? It's like my conscience is just making funny faces and funny voices. But, Jimmy Kimmel has really sunk. He's really become kind of weaselly at this point. He has that thing that the left has where they think the First Amendment not only protects their freedom of speech, which it does. I don't want Jimmy Kimmel to have to shut up or anything like that. But they think it also protects them from criticism and the consequences of the things they say. So people are picking on them, and Kimmel's response is to accuse all of us who disagree with him of essentially being accessories before the fact. Here's Kimmel with his usual emotionalism. They say Kimmel is getting his talking points from Chuck Schumer. I guess they're right. It sounds just like him. All right, but here's what Kimmel really said.
I'm not going to get deep into it again tonight. I said what I had to say last night, but I do want to say something to these nuts who spent most of the day today on television and online attacking those of us who think we need to do something about the fact that 59 innocent people were killed. They say it's inappropriate to be talking about it because it's too soon. Well, maybe it's too soon for you, because deep down inside, in your heart, you bear some responsibility for the fact that almost anyone can get any weapon they want. Now you want to cover yourself until the storm of outrage passes. You can go back to your dirty business as usual. But it's not too soon for us because we're Americans. And last time I checked, the First Amendment is at least as important as the Second Amendment.
So we're going back to our dirty business here. Go back to our dirty business to defending the Second Amendment and disagreeing with Jimmy Kimmel. I mean, that's what he's complaining about. Nobody said, shut Jimmy Kimmel down. Nobody said, he can't have his stupid show where he abuses the publicly owned airways. Instead of delivering the comedy that he's being paid for, he delivers this kind of garbage where he now has just told all the people in this country who believe in the Second Amendment that they are, complicit in the slaughter in Vegas. Just to have one more voice in there, Steve Scalise, again, the congressman who was shot and nearly killed by the Bernie Bro shooter at the softball game in D.C., he says this has fortified his pro-Second Amendment opinions.
First of all, you've got to recognize that when there's a tragedy like this, the first thing we should be thinking about is praying for the people who were injured and doing whatever we can to help them, to help law enforcement. We shouldn't first be thinking of promoting our political agenda. And I think we see too much of that where people say, okay, now you have to have gun control. Well, first of all, look at some of those bills. Those bills wouldn't have done anything to stop this. I mean, the gunmen actually cleared background checks. Yeah. So to promote some kind of gun control, I think, is the wrong way to approach this. And frankly, what I experienced was when there was a shooter, luckily we had Capitol Police there with their own guns. Every single day in America, regular citizens that just have a passionate belief in the Second Amendment, that have their own guns, use guns every single day to protect themselves against criminals. And those stories never get told or hardly ever get told. But that's a different side of the story that I think is important, that people use guns way more to defend themselves from criminals than criminals using guns to hurt people.
To bring Scalise's point home, Kimmel says that he's gotten all this blowback from Trump supporters, so he's had to increase security. Now, I think we all know that those security guys are carrying guns, right? I used to live, I really do live in Hollywood, and my next door neighbor used to be one of the biggest stars out here. And I won't expose who he was because I think just because you happen to live next to me doesn't give me the right. Your home should be like a castle. I don't want to dox the guy, it's like just, so it doesn't matter who it was, but it was a very liberal, big star, very nice in all our dealings, with him, but a very avid anti-gun campaigner. Every single day, men with guns came into that house to protect that house and to protect that person who was a major, major celebrity. The gunman even called up my wife and told her that they would be watching our house as well, because their house is obviously, because much bigger star, they had this huge mansion kind of looking down on us. But they said, if there's any trouble there, we'll be happy to come over. I thought that was great. I thought that was really good. But, the point is, I can't afford to have bodyguards. I get threatened. I get people who wish I was dead and all that stuff. And ordinary people, obviously, the people in Vegas, they're not movie stars. We can't all afford the security that Jimmy Kimmel has. We carry guns for protection. We hold guns for protection. This is the same thing, and maybe it's just that we like guns. Maybe some people just have guns because they like them, but most people are trying to be safer. So there's a lot of hypocrisy and all that crying and all that blaming people and all that cursing people out and calling them nuts and saying that they are part of this dirty business and somehow complicit in this massacre. It's a weasel thing to do. It is a really nasty, low, despicable thing to do. So let me read you what I just thought was an unbelievably great piece from Charlie Cook. Charlie Cook is what I like about Charlie Cook is he's British born. I don't know if he's become an American citizen, but he knows more. I've been on cruises with him and panels with him, and he just knows a lot about the First Amendment and all this stuff. But he wrote a piece yesterday called "The Right to Bear Arms Isn't Up for Debate." Okay, and let me just read. I want to read as much of this piece as I can, and I'll interrupt myself to talk about some other things. But he begins by saying, when debating the wisdom of the Constitution's Second Amendment, the media tends to start from the presumption that the question is purely scientific and that the answers can and should be derived from statistical analyses and relentless experimentation. And let me stop right there, because there was another article out yesterday from a statistician who said, after researching gun violence, I no longer believe in gun control. This is a woman named Leah Labresco, who is a liberal, formerly of Nate Silver's 538 site, where they gather all the information, a lot of the electoral statistics. She crunched the numbers in a study of all 33,000 gun homicides in the United States annually. She went in thinking that the usual liberal menu of anti-gun policies would reduce that number dramatically. She came out concluding that the only selling point of anti-gun policies is that gun owners hate them. You know how we on the right with Trump are being accused of only doing things to make liberals cry? She says this is the only reason to do this. And here's what she said. I researched the strictly tightened gun laws in Britain and Australia and concluded that they didn't prove much about what America's policy should be. Neither nation experienced drops in mass shootings or other gun-related crime that could be attributed to their buybacks and bans. Mass shootings were too rare in Australia for their absence after the buyback program to be clear evidence of progress. And in both Australia and Britain, the gun restrictions had an ambiguous effect on other gun-related crimes or deaths. When I looked at the other off-praise policies, I found that no gun owner walks into the store to buy an assault weapon. Finally, someone on the left figures this out. It's an invented classification that includes any semi-automatic that has two or more features, such as a bayonet mount, a rocket-propelled grenade launcher mount, a folding stock, or a pistol grip. But guns are modular, and any hobbyist can easily add these features at home, just as if they were snapping together Legos. That's one of the things that this guy did. He had, what are they called, bump stocks. And you don't even need a bump stock to turn a semi-automatic into an automatic. It's really a question of handling the recoil. So she goes on to say, as my coworkers and I kept looking at the data, it seemed less and less clear that one broad gun control restriction could make a big difference. 2/3 of gun deaths in the United States every year are suicides. This is what happens when a liberal looks at facts. Suddenly they become us. What is a conservative? A conservative is a liberal. Let me get back to this Charlie Cook piece, because I think it's just excellent. This is the Second Amendment to keep and bear state level as a bulwark against tyranny, and at the individual level as a means by which to protect oneself. This necessitates the auxiliary right tyranny.
Conservative doesn't even begin to dismiss him, could very well be your next U.S. Senator. And you don't understand just how freaked out some folks in the GOP and the White House are about what that means, then you don't know Roy Moore. First off, he doesn't appear to believe in the Constitution as it's written.
Our rights don't come from government. They don't come from a Bill of Rights. They come from Almighty God.
Now, that's just a taste of what are very fundamentalist views that have gotten him removed from office twice as Alabama's Chief Justice.
I'm sorry, I'm speechless. I was like, I haven't listened to that cut for a week, but when I first played it, I was speechless. And there is Chuck Todd, who thinks that when, like Jimmy Kimmel, he thinks that if his face is facing a camera, he must know something, or why would they be pointing a camera at him? And Roy Moore says what is foundational, it is foundational, it is the bottom block in the Jenga tower of America, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. And the argument that Charles Cook is making is that that endowment necessitates that we have guns, necessitates that we can protect ourselves. And there is Chuck Todd when he hears somebody say what is in our founding documents, that's unconstitutional. He doesn't believe in the Constitution. Chuck Todd thinks our rights emanate from the Constitution. Our Constitution is there to protect, including the Second Amendment, is there to protect our God-given rights. All right, we have the mailbag coming up, but we got to break away from Facebook and YouTube. Let me explain what this means. You get to watch about, I don't know, what do we give them, like 15, 20 minutes, right, on Facebook and YouTube. And then if you want to hear the rest of the show, you can come over to thedailywire.com. But if you subscribe for a lousy $10 a month, you can watch the whole show on thedailywire.com, so you don't have to be cast out like this into the exterior darkness where there is great wailing and gnashing of teeth. If you know your Bible, you would know that. But for a lousy $10 a month, also, that way you can get questions in the mailbag. We have some really, really good questions. My answers are guaranteed 100% correct. We guarantee our answers as 100% correct, and they will change your life on occasion for the better. If you subscribe for a year, it's only 100 lousy bucks, and you get the Leftist Tears Tumblr, which is filling up automatically, even as I speak, with leftist tears because of the things I'm saying. It's amazing. It is amazing, and it keeps them cool or hot as you like them. All right, come on over to thedailywire.com. Hear the rest of the show.